When Jesus and his disciples arrived at the rich man's house, whose daughter had just died, the crowd was everywhere. Wailers and town criers doing what they know how to do best. The storytellers hard at work, gathering the gist for the day. It was too much going on in that space, and Jesus had to address it. "Friends," he started, "please make room. Enough of this weeping and lamenting. The girl is well, okay? Step aside and give us a minute." "Which girl is well?" they whispered at first among themselves. The words of Jesus quickly circulated from ear to ear throughout that room. And suddenly, the same crowd that were wailing and crying started laughing and mocking. Did he just say the girl is well? A man that just walked into the house is telling those of us who saw her dead and felt her cold that she is well? Who is this lunatic? Who brought this joker here? The very crowd that was mourning a minute ago turned on Jesus with unbelievable disdain. The grief-stricken parents couldn't do much, so Jesus showed the crowd the door. The parents of the girl took him into the room where she was laid out. Once again, Jesus stretched out his hand, touched the hand of the little girl, and like power traveled from his clothing to the body of the woman they met on their way there. Life traveled from the fingers of Jesus into the hand of that little girl, and she sat up. Her father was ecstatic. The mother's tearful face creased with irrepressible joy. The very mobile crowd that switched from mourning to mocking immediately switched again to applauding when they saw the little girl walk out of the room alive. Quickly, they forgot their meltdown as each person raced out, carrying the news farther and spreading it wider. That job completed, Jesus was on the way again with his disciples, who never tire of being amazed at the wonders that Jesus did everywhere he went. They had learned not to whisper too much because he heard every whisper and knew the thoughts of men. They learned to speak instead to each other with their eyes. "He's done it again." One looked at the other, and the other nodded. As usual, he outshines himself every time. They had gotten used to crowds following them everywhere they went. But as they traveled back home, they heard clearly two voices calling out to the Master, "Son of David, can you hear us? Can you see us? We want to see you. Please help us to see what's going on around us." There were two blind men who stood out of the dissipating crowd, while the rest of the people were running every which way to town to tell the story of the dead girl that came back to life. The two blind men wanted what happened in that house to be replicated in their lives. They believe that a man who raised the dead can open blind eyes. If he could give life to the dead, what is blindness in comparison? Nothing, they concluded, as they decided that their time was now or never. You don't see things like this every day, and when you do, you don't walk away to hope for another day. You are not sure if and when it will ever come again. No, you seize the moment. Those men concluded as they followed Jesus all the way, determined not to go back home that day the same. Jesus entered the house, and the two blind fellas entered like they were part of Jesus' party. They didn't know Jesus. They didn't know anybody in that house. They had no right to be there, but faith granted them access, and determination got them through that door. In a twinkle of an eye, they were in front of the healer, making their case. "So you two think that I can make you see again?" Jesus asked both men. And each one spoke for himself, and their words were in one accord. Our blindness is nothing compared to the things we have heard you do. You walked into that hopeless situation in the rich man's house and his dead child lived. How much more we that are alive? What is our blindness to you? We know that you can open our eyes and we are ready to see. They made their case real good. Jesus placed his hands on their dead eyes and they opened. The men could see. They could barely contain themselves. But Jesus calmed them down and warned them to keep it quiet. They agreed. But as soon as they were out the door, excitement took over and their tongue ran wild. Who can keep such a thing quiet? That I was blind and now I can see. There was no hushing those two as they ran down the street, telling everyone who cared to listen. All the way to their destination, they told their story of once I was blind, now I can see. A man whose speech had been arrested by an evil spirit was brought to Jesus after the two men left. As Jesus addressed the spirit, those around wondered what an evil spirit had to do with muteness. The man wants to talk. Touch his mouth, maybe, like you touch the blind eyes. His tongue, maybe, but make him talk and leave this talk about evil spirits. Some were thinking. But as soon as Jesus kicked out the evil spirit in the man, his tongue was released and the man talked like nothing was ever wrong with his speech. The very people who were wondering about Jesus' strategy were astonished all over again. Wow, this is incredible. This is a miracle. This is unheard of. Nobody ever did anything like this before. But the religious folks were not happy at all. They were green with envy. The crowd was hailing Jesus and the amazing work he does in the lives of everyone who came to him. And that made them angry. They wanted all that praise and honor. It was their right, they believed. Who is the son of a nobody, taught by nobody, claiming all this popularity? For what? And he claims to be the son of God? Son of the devil, I bet. He's with the devil. They fumed from the nose and eyes and ears to no avail. Undeterred, Jesus went about everywhere he could get to, revealing God and his ways, helping and healing, lifting and touching everyone he met. Countless people were showing up from everywhere with all kinds of conditions, and as he watched them come and go, Jesus felt their weight, their struggles, and their pains. Moved by their helplessness and hopelessness, his heart went out to them, and he said to his friends, "The need is everywhere, but the help is few and far between. Oh, that there will be sturdy hope to every case and sufficient help for every need." Just like Jesus said it then, it still applies today. The need is very great and the available help is few and far between. Still, God is moving. God is preparing those who are available and equipping those who are willing. God is not looking for qualified hands. He is looking for hearts that will trust and obey him through thick and thin to prepare them for what is to come. God can use any and every one of us to meet the rising needs around us. But are we willing to be prepared before we can be trusted and used to bring glory to God and not to self? Let's get our journal. If you get a chance to present your case before God, like those two blind men, what will it be? Rambling from here to there about how much you suffered and how people were nice to you? Or will you articulate what the issue is and your expectations? When God asks you, what do you want? Can you truly tell what you want? Or will you lose your tongue or chatter away, making no sense in the end? Opportunities don't knock on our doors every day, and when they do, only the prepared can seize the moment and make the most of it. How prepared are you for the opportunities you need to get out of where you are right now to where you need to be? We are all hoping for greater opportunities. What are you doing to be ready to live your dreams and see your hope fulfilled? When I graduated from college, the Holy Spirit told me to go take swimming lessons while I was searching for a job. I could swim, but I had no plans to go to the Olympics, so I didn't understand why, instead of giving me a job opportunity I was hoping for, God was asking me to go swimming. However, because my default response to God is obedience at His word, I went ahead and enrolled. I would swim several times in a week. In fact, I had the pool to myself most mornings because people were at work. And by the time they are getting off work, I was checking out. I became a constant face at the pool, and God granted me fabulous favor before the staff and trainers. I was so good to the point I could do crazy stuff at the deep end and hold my breath for extended periods. I learned different skills I never bothered about before then because I had time on my hands. Months later, I was invited for an interview. One of the key determining factors for my employment was my ability to swim. I was required to get the helicopter underwater escape training to be certified to travel offshore, deep offshore, and to swamp locations, all of which required helicopter travels. While some were losing their chances and others were rushing through expensive last-minute training, I went for the test and aced it. We don't know tomorrow and we don't know what to prepare for or not. But we know the God who knows tomorrow, and He can guide us on what to prepare for and how best to be equipped for what He's got coming for us. He knows the plans He has for us and is able to guide our preparation if we are willing to listen and obey. Nothing beats the power of preparation. Opportunities come to everyone, but those who are prepared are equipped to recognize and make the most of it. How prepared are you to make the most of your hopes and dreams? Most importantly, how prepared are you to live God's dream for your life? As I look back down the road I've traveled these many years, I realize that God uses our trust and obedience to guide our every step toward His plan for us. It may not make sense at the time, but in the end, it all comes together. In the end, the connection of all the routes and details we have had to take with God come together in this beautiful story that has us going, I see. Once I was blind and now I can see. Once I was lost, but now I am found. Once I didn't understand, but now I know better. Once it didn't make sense, but now it all worked together for good. Once it looked horrible, but now God has made it all beautiful. May that be the story of every one of us who is learning to trust and obey God every way we can. Check out the links and the scriptures below for additional help. Feel free to share your thoughts and answers in the comments. Be inspired. You are a star, and it's your time to shine. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with family and friends. Jump in and join me in the next video, still on this series of Divine Interruption, titled Mission, Vacation, Not the Same.